Before we get to the story, I'd like to say thanks so much for visiting my new channel. I'm going to be uploading cosmic horror related stories every single day. So if that sounds good, please drop a like and don't forget to subscribe. It means a lot, especially when just getting started. I hope you enjoy the story. I'm writing this by candlelight because the power's only on for 2 hours a day now, and I need to save those hours for heat. My name is Chris Sullivan. I teach astronomy at Riverdale Community College in Oregon, or at least I used to. I don't know if the college even exists anymore. I don't know if anything exists the way it did 3 weeks ago. I need to write this down while I still can. While the internet still works during those precious 2 hours of electricity, someone needs to know what happened here. It started on October 15th. I was teaching my introduction to astronomy class when the alert came through. Every phone in the classroom buzzed at once. That distinctive emergency broadcast tone that makes your stomach drop. My students all grabbed their phones immediately, which normally I'd tell them to put away, but I pulled out mine too. NASA announces solar eclipse, visible across North America, October the 15th, 2:47. Duration, 4 minutes, 12 seconds. Safe viewing practices required. Sweet, we get to see an eclipse, said Brandon from the back row. He was a sophomore, barely passing, mostly taking my class for an easy science credit. Is it safe to look at? Asked Emily, one of my better students. Not directly, I said, walking to the supply cabinet. But lucky for you guys, I have eclipse glasses left over from the last one. We can watch it from the parking lot. The rest of the morning dragged by. My students couldn't focus on the lesson about lunar phases, which was ironic considering we were about to witness the moon passing directly between Earth and the sun. I gave up around noon and let them work on their lab assignments while I prepared the viewing area outside. The campus was buzzing with excitement. Other classes were setting up in the quad. The chemistry professor had rigged up a projection system using a cardboard box. Some students had driven to Walmart and bought out their entire stock of eclipse glasses. At 2:30, I led my class outside. The weather was perfect. Clear October sky, temperature around 65 degrees, the kind of fall day that makes you grateful to live in Oregon. All right, everyone, remember what I told you. Don't look directly at the sun without the glasses. Even during the eclipse, the sun's rays can damage your eyes permanently. I handed out the glasses, keeping a pair for myself. We stood in a loose circle in the parking lot, faces turned upward like some kind of weird sun-worshipping cult. 5 minutes, I announced, checking my watch. The conversations around me were typical college student stuff. Weekend plans, complaints about other classes, someone's breakup drama. Normal life. I wish I'd appreciated how normal it was. At 2:47, right on schedule, the moon began its transit across the sun. It's starting, Emily shouted. Through the eclipse glasses, I watched the moon take its first bite out of the sun. A small dark curve appearing on the right side, growing larger by the second. I'd seen this before, but it never got old. The precision of it, the clockwork nature of celestial mechanics. Everything happening exactly as predicted, as it had been predicted thousands of years ago by ancient astronomers with nothing but their eyes and their minds. The darkness came quickly, not like sunset, which fades gradually. This was different. The light just drained away, like someone was dimming a switch. The temperature dropped immediately. Students started pulling on jackets. "This is so cool," Brandon said, his voice full of genuine wonder for once. Total eclipse hit at 2:51. The sun vanished completely behind the moon, and for a moment, the world held its breath. The horizon glowed orange in every direction, like a 360-degree sunset. Stars appeared in the middle of the afternoon. Venus blazed bright to the west. 4 minutes and 12 seconds, I said. Enjoy it while it lasts. We stood in the eerie twilight, watching the corona shimmer around the moon's dark disk. Some students took pictures, though I knew their phone cameras wouldn't capture it properly. Emily stood with her arms wrapped around herself, smiling up at the sky. 4 minutes passed, then 5, then 10. "Mr. Sullivan?" Emily's voice had changed. The wonder was gone, replaced by something else. "Shouldn't it be over by now?" I checked my watch. 2:56. The eclipse should have ended at 2:55. I looked up at the sky. The sun was still completely blocked. "Maybe NASA's timing was off," Brandon offered. "NASA doesn't get the timing off," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "These things are calculated down to the second." 15 minutes. The darkness remained complete. The temperature kept dropping. I could see my breath now. Other groups were starting to notice too. Voices rising across the quad, confusion spreading like a wave. "Maybe we should go inside," I said. Nobody moved. We all stood there, staring up at where the sun should be, waiting for it to come back. At 3:15, half an hour after the eclipse should have ended, I pulled out my phone and checked the NASA website. It took forever to load, probably because half the country was doing the same thing. Announcement: NASA is monitoring the current solar observation event. Further updates to follow. Remain calm. Solar observation event? I read aloud. What does that even mean? My phone rang. Dr. Hayes, the college president. "Chris, bring your students inside. We're cancelling the rest of today's classes." "What's going on?" "I don't know, but parents are calling, worried about their kids driving home in this, whatever this is. We need everyone off campus within the hour." I gathered my students. They followed me back to the classroom in silence, none of the earlier excitement remaining. The hallway lights were on now, motion-activated sensors, thinking it was night. "Is this normal?" Emily asked quietly as we walked. "No," I said. There was no point in lying. "This isn't normal at all." I dismissed class early, told them to drive carefully, to stay calm, that there was probably a simple explanation. I didn't believe it, and I could tell they didn't either. By 5 o'clock, I was driving home through what felt like late evening, even though it was the middle of rush hour. Street lights glowed yellow along Main Street. Every parking lot was flooded with artificial light. Outside the grocery store, I saw people loading their cars with supplies, moving quickly, faces tight with worry. My apartment complex was chaos. Neighbors stood in clusters in the parking lot, looking up at the sky, talking in worried voices. Mrs. Peterson from 3B grabbed my arm as I walked past. "Chris, you teach astronomy. What's happening?" "I don't know, Mrs. Peterson." "Is it the end times? My sister called from Arizona. Says it's dark there too, all across the country." "It's probably just. I need to make some calls. I'll let you know when I find out more." I unlocked my apartment and immediately turned on the TV. Every news channel showed the same thing. Darkness. Across North America, the sun hadn't come back. Reporters stood in various cities, all in the same unnatural twilight, all asking the same questions nobody could answer. I tried calling some colleagues from graduate school, Dr. Reeves at UCLA, Professor Thompson in Colorado. None of them picked up. Everyone was either trying to figure this out or had already failed and given up. The international news was somehow worse. A reporter in London stood in broad daylight, describing a normal sunny afternoon. But her description of the sun sounded wrong. She kept saying it looked different, but couldn't explain how. In Tokyo, same thing. The sun was there, but something about it wasn't right. I made coffee and sat by my window, watching the sky. The stars were out, crystal clear. I could see Orion, which made sense for October. The moon was visible too, past first quarter, exactly where it should be. Except it wasn't. The position was wrong. Just slightly, but wrong. I grabbed my star chart and confirmed it. The moon was about 15 degrees off from where it should be at this time and date. I checked the stars again. Orion looked right. Cassiopeia looked right. The North Star was exactly where it should be. Just the moon was wrong. I stayed up all night, monitoring news feeds and NASA updates. The official statements remained vague. Temporary solar observation difficulties. Continue normal routines. Updates forthcoming. Around 3 o'clock in the morning, I found a forum where professional astronomers were sharing observations. Someone from an observatory in Chile reported the sun looked hollow. An astronomer in Japan said it appeared to be flickering. None of it made sense. At 7:15, I stood by my window, watching for sunrise. The sky did lighten, just barely. The black became dark blue, then a dim grey, like the light before a storm. But the sun never appeared. The sky just hung there in permanent dusk, bright enough to see by, but wrong in every way. I got dressed and headed to campus. Dr. Hayes had called another emergency meeting, wanted me to prepare a statement for the students. What was I supposed to say? I'm an astronomy instructor at a community college. I teach basic courses about moon phases and the life cycles of stars. I don't have answers for this. The drive into town was surreal. Traffic lights cycled through their patterns under a sky that refused to commit to day or night. Every building had its lights on. People walked their dogs, went to work, tried to maintain normalcy, while the world proved it had no more normal left to give. Downtown Riverdale looked like a scene from a disaster movie. The parking lot at Fred Meyer was packed. People pushing overloaded shopping carts. I saw Mr. Chen from the hardware store boarding up his windows. The gas station had a line of cars stretching down the block. At the college, Dr. Hayes met me in his office. He looked like he'd aged 10 years overnight. Chris, I need you to talk to the students. Calm them down. Explain what's happening. I can't explain what's happening. I don't know what's happening. Then tell them something. Anything. Parents are losing their minds. Half the faculty didn't show up today. We need someone to be the voice of reason. I wanted to say no. I wanted to go home and hide under my blankets like I did when I was a kid during thunderstorms. But I thought about Emily, about Brandon, about all my students who'd stood with me in that parking lot yesterday, watching the world break. I'll do what I can. The informational session was held in the auditorium at 2 o'clock. Maybe 200 students showed up. plus worried parents, faculty, random community members. I stood at the podium with notes I'd scribbled that said, basically, nothing. "I know everyone's scared," I started. "I'm scared too. What we're experiencing defies everything we know about astronomy, about physics, about how the universe works." "Did NASA do this?" someone shouted from the back. "Some kind of experiment." "NASA doesn't have the capability to affect the sun." "Then what happened?" "I don't know." The crowd erupted. People shouting over each other, demanding answers I didn't have. Someone accused the government of causing this. Someone else said it was divine punishment. A woman started crying that we were all going to freeze to death. Mayor Harrison, who'd been sitting in the front row, stood up and raised his hands. "Everyone, please. Chris is doing his best. We're all trying to understand this. The important thing is to stay calm and look out for each other." But calm was already gone. I could see it in their faces, the realization settling in that the people they'd trusted to have answers, to keep them safe, were just as lost as they were. The meeting fell apart within an hour. People drifted away in small groups, talking in low voices. I saw Emily leaving with her parents. She caught my eye and gave me a small wave. I wondered if I'd ever see her again. That night, my dad called from Florida. "Chris, you seeing this down there too?" "Yeah, Dad, same thing." My father was ex-Air Force, spent 20 years fixing jet engines, never got rattled by anything. But I could hear the shake in his voice now. "I've lived through a lot of things, son. Storms, wars, terrorist attacks. This is different. This feels wrong in my bones." "I know. You want me to drive up there? Be with you?" I looked out my window at the parking lot below. A few neighbors were loading their cars, clearly planning to leave town. Where would they go? The darkness was everywhere. "No, stay there. Roads are probably getting dangerous. People panicking." "Chris," he paused. "Do you think, is the sun coming back?" It was the first time anyone had asked me directly. The first time someone wanted the truth instead of comfort. "No, Dad. I don't think this is an eclipse anymore." He was quiet for a long moment. "Okay. You take care of yourself. And Chris, I love you." "I love you too, Dad." After we hung up, I sat in the dark for a while. The power was still on, but I didn't turn on any lights, just sat there thinking about everything I'd studied, everything I thought I knew about the universe. The sun didn't just disappear. Stars don't vanish. There are no forces in nature that could remove an object with that much mass from the solar system without catastrophic effects. We should all be dead already. Earth should have been flung out of orbit the moment the sun's gravity stopped holding us. But we were still here, still orbiting something. The question was what? Day 3 arrived with the same grey non-dawn. The temperature outside was 45 degrees, dropping fast. My weather app said it should be 68. I saw frost on the cars in the parking lot, something that never happened in Riverdale in October. Mrs. Peterson knocked on my door around 10 o'clock. "The plants are dying," she said. She had tears in her eyes, holding a wilted fern. "I've had this plant for 12 years. My daughter gave it to me. It's dying because there's no sun. I'm sorry. What are we going to do when all the plants die? What will we eat?" I didn't have an answer for that either. The news reported that major cities were implementing rolling blackouts to preserve power. The grid couldn't handle everyone running their heat constantly. Hospitals were on backup generators. Some smaller towns had already lost power completely. Internet was slowing down too. Servers overheating, infrastructure straining. Cell service kept cutting out. I realized we might lose all communication soon, and then we'd really be alone. Mayor Harrison called another town meeting for that evening. I didn't want to go, but I felt obligated, like watching a car crash in slow motion and being unable to look away. The high school gymnasium was packed. Looked like half the town showed up. The mayor tried to maintain order, talking about rationing supplies and community support, but people weren't interested in organizational details anymore. They wanted someone to blame. NASA knew this was going to happen. A man I didn't recognize shouted. They called it routine. They lied to us. The government's been building underground bunkers for years, someone else added. They knew. Mayor Harrison asked me to speak again to provide the scientific perspective. I walked to the front of the gym with everyone's eyes on me. Look, I understand everyone's angry and scared, but NASA didn't cause this. The government didn't cause this. This is something beyond human capability. Then what is it? I don't know. Something we've never seen before. Something that shouldn't be possible. So we're just supposed to sit here and freeze to death while you figure it out. I'm not figuring anything out. Nobody is. We're all in the same situation here. The crowd turned hostile. People yelling, some standing up like they were ready to rush the stage. Mayor Harrison called for order, but nobody was listening anymore. I slipped out the side door before things could get worse. Kevin was waiting in the parking lot. He'd been one of my students last year, dropped out after first semester to work at his uncle's auto shop. Smart kid, just didn't see the point of college. Mr. Sullivan, you got a minute? Sure, Kevin. Some of us have been watching with telescopes. Up on the roof of the apartment building on 5th Street. You should come see. See what? Just come. You need to see this. I followed him to the building, an old 4-story walk-up with a flat roof. 6 or 7 people were already up there, bundled in coats, gathered around 2 telescopes and some binoculars. Show him, Kevin said. A woman I didn't know gestured to one of the telescopes. Look where the sun should be. I positioned myself at the eyepiece and adjusted the focus. At first, I didn't see anything unusual, just the dark sky, a few stars. Then I realized what I was looking at. Where the sun should be, there was something darker than the surrounding space. Not black like the night sky, but darker, like someone had cut a hole in reality itself. And as I watched, something moved inside it. Just a flicker, barely perceptible, but definitely movement. Something massive shifting in that impossible darkness. I pulled back from the telescope, my hands shaking. What is that? I whispered. We don't know, Kevin said. But it's been there since the first day. We've all seen it move. That's not the sun. No, it's not. I looked through the telescope again, unable to stop myself. The darkness seemed deeper this time, more aware somehow. And for just a second, I had the terrible feeling that whatever was in there was looking back. I left the roof without saying goodbye, practically ran back to my apartment, locked the door behind me, and stood with my back against it, breathing hard. The sun was gone, really gone, and something else had taken its place. I wanted to tell myself it was impossible, that I'd seen wrong, that there was still a rational explanation. But I'd spent my entire adult life studying the sky. I knew what I'd seen. Something was up there, something that had replaced our sun, and it was watching us. 2 weeks passed. October the 29th. Temperature, 25 degrees. Snow was falling in Oregon. Fat, wet flakes that stuck to everything. I'd never seen snow in October, not here. The weather didn't work that way. But nothing worked the way it used to. Power was down to 4 hours a day now. 6 o'clock to 8 o'clock in the morning. 6 o'clock to 8 o'clock at night. The city announced the schedule like it was bus times, like this was normal, like we should all just adjust our lives around it. I used the morning power hours for heat and a hot shower, saved the evening hours for internet, desperately trying to find information while I still could. The NASA website had gone quiet. Last update was 3 days ago. Continued to remain calm. Solution pending. Solution to what? They'd never officially acknowledged the problem, never admitted the sun was gone, just kept posting vague reassurances that meant nothing. Water pressure was getting weak too. The city's pumps couldn't run 24/7 without power. I'd started filling my bathtub during power hours, storing water for the long stretches in between. The college had officially closed a week ago. Email from Dr. Hayes saying they'd resume classes when the situation stabilizes. We all knew what that meant. The situation wasn't going to stabilize. I hadn't left my apartment in 3 days, partly because it was dangerous out there, people getting desperate, looting the stores that hadn't already been cleaned out, but mostly because I didn't see the point anymore. Where was I going to go? What was I going to do? I'd found some underground forums where astronomers were still posting observations. Everyone was seeing the same thing. The sun was gone, not hidden behind something, not blocked out, gone, vanished from the solar system as if it had never existed, except we were all still alive, still orbiting, still experiencing something like day and night, even though there was no sun to create either. One post from an astrophysicist in Germany summed it up. The math doesn't work. None of this should be possible. Either everything we know about physics is wrong, or something is actively maintaining our orbit. Neither option makes sense. I'd stopped trying to make sense of it, spent my time reading instead, old paperbacks by flashlight, anything to keep my mind occupied during the 20 hours of no power. On the evening of the 29th, during the 6 o'clock power window, someone knocked on my door. I looked through the peephole and saw 3 of my students, Emily, Brandon, and a girl named Lisa from my morning section. They looked terrible, thin and pale, huddled together against the cold. I opened the door. "Mr. Sullivan," Emily said, "can we come in?" Of course. They filed inside, standing awkwardly in my tiny living room. I turned up the space heater, gestured for them to sit. "What are you guys doing here?" "Our dorm lost power 3 days ago," Brandon said. "It's not on the schedule anymore. They just shut us off completely." "Have you been eating?" Lisa shook her head. "Dining halls closed. We ran out of the food we had in our rooms. I went to my kitchen and pulled out what I had left. Some canned soup, crackers, peanut butter. Not much, but more than they had. Here, eat this." They fell on the food like they hadn't seen a meal in days. They probably hadn't. I made soup on my camping stove, 3 cans split between 4 people. It wasn't enough, but it was what I could do. "What are we supposed to do, Mr. Sullivan?" Emily asked after they'd finished eating. She had tears in her eyes. "My parents won't answer their phones. The roads out of town are blocked. We're just stuck here." "I don't know. You're the teacher. You're supposed to have answers." "I don't have any answers. Nobody does." Brandon was staring out my window at the dark sky. "Is it ever coming back? The sun?" I wanted to lie. Tell them everything would be okay. That this was temporary. That help was coming. But they deserved the truth. "No, I don't think so." Lisa started crying. Emily put an arm around her. Brandon just kept staring out the window. "You guys can stay here tonight," I said. "It's warmer than the dorm. We'll figure out tomorrow when tomorrow comes." They stayed. We huddled together on the floor around the space heater, sharing my blankets. None of us talked much. What was there to say? The power cut out at 8 o'clock sharp. The heater died. The lights went dark. We sat in the blackness, listening to the wind outside, the temperature slowly dropping. "I'm scared," Lisa whispered. "Me too," I said. We fell asleep like that. 4 people trying to stay warm while the world froze around us. In the morning, during the brief power window, my students decided to leave. They were going to try to reach their families, even though the roads were supposedly blocked. I gave them what food I could spare and watched them walk away into the grey half-light. I never saw them again. November the 3rd. 19 days since the sun disappeared. Temperature, 18 degrees. Power down to 2 hours a day now, and those hours getting shorter. The city announced they were shutting down non-essential services, which was almost everything. I was running out of food, down to some canned beans and stale bread. The water from the taps came out brown and tasted like rust when it came out at all. Outside my window, Riverdale was dying. I could see it happening in real time. Cars abandoned in the street, most with flat tires or empty gas tanks. The few people still moving around looked like ghosts, bundled in every piece of clothing they owned, scavenging through what remained. The grocery store had been broken into days ago, everything taken, the pharmacy too. I'd heard gunshots last night, probably someone defending their supplies or taking someone else's. This was how civilization ended. Not with a bang, but with a whisper. Everyone slowly freezing in the dark. I spent my days watching the sky through binoculars, studying that darkness where the sun used to be. I'd seen it move a dozen times now. Definitely not my imagination. Something was in there. Something huge. The last time the internet worked, I'd found one final post from the astronomer in Germany. Just 2 sentences. "It's not replacing the sun. It's eating it." Then the internet died completely. No more updates. No more information. Just silence. Last night, I went up to the roof, brought my binoculars, and stood in the freezing wind, looking at the void. And I saw it clearly this time. Movement inside that impossible darkness. Something vast and patient. Something that existed in a way I couldn't comprehend. It definitely looked back. I don't know what it is. I don't know where it came from or why it chose our sun. I don't even know if chose is the right word. Maybe it's just doing what it does, following some alien instinct we can't understand. All I know is it's there, and the sun isn't, and we're running out of time. I'm writing this on November 4th. The power came on for 1 hour this morning instead of 2. I don't think it's coming back on tonight. My dad hasn't answered his phone in 3 days. I hope he's okay. I hope he found somewhere warm. It's 14 degrees outside. The windows are frosted over. I'm wearing every piece of clothing I own, and I still can't stop shivering. I've decided to leave. Try to make it south, somewhere warmer. I don't know if there is anywhere warmer anymore, but I have to try. Can't just sit here waiting to freeze. Before I go, I needed to write this down. Needed someone to know what happened here, in case anyone ever finds this. NASA called it a routine eclipse. They were wrong, or they were lying. It doesn't matter which anymore. The sun is gone. Something took it, or ate it, or replaced it with itself. Something massive and aware and completely beyond our understanding. We thought we knew the universe. We thought we'd figured out the rules, the laws of physics, how things worked. We were so confident in our knowledge, our science, our ability to predict and explain. We were wrong about everything. There are things out there we can't comprehend, things that don't follow our rules, things that can reach across space and pluck a star from the sky like picking fruit from a tree. And we're nothing to them, just insects crawling on a rock, briefly warmed by a light that wasn't ours to keep. I don't know what's going to happen to humanity. Maybe some people will survive in bunkers or heated shelters. Maybe they'll figure out fusion power or geothermal energy. Maybe we'll adapt. Or maybe we'll all freeze in the dark, and in 1,000 years, there'll be nothing left but ice and empty cities and the question marks of our final days. If you're reading this, if somehow you survived, know that we didn't die from the cold or the starvation or the collapse of civilization. We died because something came for our sun. Something ancient and hungry and patient. It's still up there, still watching from its throne of darkness. I can feel it sometimes. In the quiet moments, that terrible awareness focused on our dying world. We never found out what it wanted. We never learned why it chose us. Maybe there is no why. Maybe it's like asking why a shark eats, why a star burns. It's just what it does. The sun is gone, and it's never coming back. And we're alone in the dark. I'm leaving my apartment now, going to try for the highway south. I'll keep this journal with me, add to it if I can. But I don't think I'm going to make it very far. The cold is already too much, the darkness too complete, and that thing in the sky, that impossible wrongness where our sun used to be, I can feel it looking down, watching us die. Waiting for what? I'll never know.